Who is the best role model with advice that should always be heeded? Okay. Someone who has established inner control and speaks with words both gentle and true. Okay, who is the best role model with advice that should always be heeded? One who has established inner control and speaks with words both gentle and true. So we all need role models, don't we? And nowadays, when you look at pop culture and the role models we have, you know, especially when Ted Cruz announces his candidacy for president, you wonder, I mean, these are the role models that people have. And we need good role models if we're going to grow into wise and kind people. You know, it's really very important. So here the seventh Dalai Lama is saying, okay, what kind of role models should we look for? Because sometimes, you know, our role model just happens to be whoever is there. You know, when we grow up, our parents are our role models because they're the people that we spend the most time with. When we go to school, our teachers, you know, become our role models. Then our peers become our role models. But how, I wonder, and then pop stars and athletes and politicians and so on. But, you know, how much in society do we think, who do I want my role model to be? Yeah, do you remember ever thinking about this as a young person? Like, who's my role model going to be? As if we had some choice over the matter? Yeah, I mean, we have lots of choice. I remember as a kid, I really admired Helen Keller. She was my hero, you know? Yeah, so maybe that was some kind of, you know, there was no term role model, you know, but there was some kind of admiration for her. But, you know, to really think, and now especially as adults, who are the people who are going to be our role models? Because, you know, those are the people that we will look at, you know, how did they speak, how did they think, how did they act, and we will choose to fashion ourselves after them. So we need to be really wise in selecting who our role models are. Okay, so the guidance that the seventh Dalai Lama gives us. Okay, someone who has established inner control and speaks with words both gentle and true. So inner control refers to someone with great compassion who cherishes others more than self, yeah, and also someone with wisdom, you know, wisdom especially, you know, in this case as a role model for beginners, we have people who have wisdom about karma and its effects, and so what to practice and what to abandon, and also who have the wisdom of the ultimate nature. Okay, because that's going to be somebody who is well controlled internally, yeah. Because without, you know, great compassion and wisdom, we're totally out of control, aren't we? You know, our mind is like all over the place, and you know, anybody who takes us as a role model is, you know, and going to be in dire straits. So. We need to look for role models who are well controlled, who really cherish others, and who have the wisdom of both conventional and ultimate truths. And then, you know, by emulating them and seeing how they practice, seeing what they do, developing those qualities within ourselves. And specifically, the qualities he's recommending is somebody who speaks with words both gentle and true. Because speech is very, very important. I mean, we learn a lot by watching how people, you know, interact with others and how they speak, you know, just in their daily life. We also learn a lot from teachings, you know. But speech is something very powerful, and so someone who speaks both gentle and true. Okay, now the question comes, does that person always have to speak gentle? And what does true mean? Okay, because you'll see, I think I sent around to you a story from Diana about Bakshi scolding Joshua, and somebody being quite shocked by it. And Jeffrey will tell stories like that as well. And I certainly remember my teacher scolding me and scolding a group of us. Yeah. So we have to understand what gentle means. Gentle does not always mean pleasing to the ear. Yeah. It means, because pleasing to the ear means what pleases my ego. It's gentle means, something that is going to be beneficial for the person who hears it. And sometimes, when we're very complacent or we're very thick-skulled, very sweet, melodic words just roll off of us like water on visqueen, nothing that penetrates. So it's only when your teacher is Yamantika that then you kind of say, oh, maybe I should listen and pay attention. Okay? So, we have to understand what gentle means. And also to understand what true means. Because, some people may look at some of the teachings the Buddha gave and say, well, he contradicted to himself. Because in some situations, to some people, he said that there was a self, that there was a self-sufficient, substantially existent self. And then to other people, he said there's, let alone no self-sufficient self, there's not even an inherently existent one. So does that mean that what the Buddha spoke was untrue? No, it's just he was speaking according to what was beneficial for the disciples, who were in front of him at that time. So true has the meaning not only of what is factually true, but what is beneficial at that time for the listener. Not for ourselves, because what is beneficial at that time to say for ourselves is often lies, isn't it? Because we did something and we want to cover it up. So we say, well, it's better for somebody else if I tell the story a little bit differently. In other words, that I lie for the benefit of the other person. Well, that's clearly lying, because the one who wants to benefit from it is us, because we don't want other people to know what we did. Yeah, so that's clearly a lie. But the Buddha, in terms of teaching what he did, would say what was needed to different people at different times. And I see that a lot with my teachers too. Somebody will go in and say, what's the best practice to do? And, my teacher will say this, and the next person will go in and say, what's the best practice? And he says that. Or just even on a practical situation, how to handle a practical situation. You'll get two different answers. Yeah, so you have to be very careful with Lama says, because Lama says different things to different people, according to what is beneficial, because there's not one external, stamp of whatever you should, do. Okay? But for us, who don't have gentle speech or true speech, our speech should really focus on being gentle and true. Okay? For those people who have the ability to guide others on the path, and who cherish others more than self, who have the kind of wisdom, then I think gentle and true has a slightly different meaning, because they're able to see what is of great benefit to different people at different times. Okay, so to make that kind of person our role model, Hmm? Does this make some sense to you? Yeah. Sometimes we think, about the thing with gentle, we think, well, gentle means, what sounds good to my ear, what pleases me, what I like to hear. Yeah. And I remember Venerable Jendi telling me a story with her teacher, who would often scold disciples, and Venerable Jendi really began to say, what's happening here? And then one day she was talking with her teacher about something. Some disciple called on the phone, one of the other nuns, and her teacher just let it out and roared at this person, and scolded her and everything, put the phone down, returned to talking to Venerable Jendi just like nothing had happened, because she wasn't angry inside. Yeah, she was saying what she needed to say to get through to somebody else. And it was at that point that Venerable Jendi said, oh, now I understand. Yeah. Okay. So we should think about who our role models are. I would say the Buddha should be one of them. Yeah. His Holiness another one. Je Tsongkhapa another one. Yeah. So think of, and we can, I think, take different people, the qualities of different people as role models, because sometimes we don't find all the qualities displayed in a manifest way in one person, but we can take different people as role models in different areas, who really show a good way for us.